You know, when Jessica Walter appeared with Charlton Heston in the movie number one in 1969, we knew she was going to be a big star. She just needed the right, what do you call, vehicle to get there. Now, who would have thought that Clint Eastwood would give her the big break that she was on top for years because of this? Of course, we're going to be talking today about Play Misty for Me. This American psychological thriller film, close to film noir, was directed by and starred Clint Eastwood, his directorial debut. Jessica Walter and the beautiful Donna Mills co-star. The screenplay, written by regular Eastwood collaborators Joe Hyams and Dean Reisner, follows a radio DJ played by Eastwood being stalked by an obsessed female fan played by Walter. The film was a critical and mild financial success, with Walter earning praise for her first major film role, including a Golden Globe nom for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama. Now, cinematography Bruce Surtees, edited by Carl Pingatori. Budget was $950,000, but it made tons of money at the box office, $10.5 million. So, in this one, Dave Garver, played by Eastwood, is a KRML radio disc jockey who broadcasts nightly from his studio in Carmel by the Sea, California, often incorporating poetry in his program. After working at his favorite bar, playing a nonsensical game involving corks and bottle caps with the barman as a device, he deliberately attracts the attention of a woman named Evelyn Draper. Dave drives her home, where she reveals that her presence in the bar was not accidental. It was she, in fact, who sought him out after hearing the bar mentioned on his radio show. He guesses correctly that she's the recurring caller, who also always requests the jazz standard Misty. The two eventually have sex. What a surprise. A casual relationship begins between both of them, but before long, Evelyn begins to display obsessive behavior and volatile personality traits that alarm Dave. She shows up at Dave's house uninvited, follows him to work, and calls to demand that he not leave her alone for a single minute. The final straw, when it comes when a jealous Evelyn disrupts a business meeting, mistaking Dave's lunch companion for his date. Now, his efforts to gently sever ties with Evelyn lead her to attempt suicide in his home by slashing her wrists. You see the parallels here with Fatal Attraction. After Dave rejects her again, Evelyn breaks into his home and his housekeeper, Bertie, finds her vandalizing his possessions. Evelyn stabs the housekeeper, who was hospitalized but survives, and is subsequently committed to a psych ward. Now, during Evelyn's incarceration, Dave rekindles a relationship with his ex-girlfriend, Toby. A few months later, Evelyn again calls the studio to request Misty. She tells Dave that she's been released from a mental hospital and is moving to Hawaii for a fresh start in life. She then quotes the Edgar Allan Poe poem, Annabel Lee. That night, while Dave is asleep, she sneaks into his house and attempts to kill him with a knife. After holding her off, Evelyn flees and contacts the police. Now, Dave tells Toby about Evelyn and cautions her to stay away from him until the woman is caught, which she agrees. Arriving home, she's greeted by Evelyn, pretending to be answering her ad for a roommate using the alias Annabelle. Toby eventually realizes that Annabelle is Evelyn when she sees the fresh scars on Evelyn's wrists. Before Toby can escape, Evelyn takes her hostage. Evelyn kills McCallum, a police detective who had come to check on Toby. Now, Dave makes the connection between Toby's roommate and the quote from Annabelle Lee. When he calls Toby to warn her, Evelyn answers that she and Toby are waiting for him. Dave switches from a live show to tape music and rushes to the house, where he finds Toby bound and gagged. Evelyn attacks him with the butcher knife, slashing Dave multiple times. He eventually punches Evelyn, knocking her through the window, over a railing, down on the rocky shore below, killing her. He and Toby leave the house as his voice on the radio show leads into the song Misty. Now, jazz musicians Johnny Otis, Joe Zawinul, and Cannonball Adderley did appear as themselves in scenes shot at the real-life 1970 Monterey Jazz Festival. Now, of course, his longtime co-contributor Don Siegel also was in this movie. Now, the script was originally conceived by Joe Hyams, a former model and dancer turned secretary, and was polished by Dean Reisner. The story was acquired by Russ Hunter while at Universal. Now, before Eastwood's Malaposa Productions co-founder Irving Leonard died, he and Eastwood discussed a final film, one giving Eastwood the artistic control he desired by making his directorial debut. The film was Play Misty for Me, and Eastwood eventually reflected on his new. Like I said, Eastwood reflected on his new role. After 17 years of bouncing through my head against the wall, hanging around sets, maybe influencing certain camera setups with my own opinions, watching actors go through all kinds of hell without any help, and working with both good directors and bad ones, I'm at a point where I'm ready to make my own pictures. I stored away all the mistakes I made and saved up all the good things I learned, and now I know enough to control my own projects and get what I want out of actors. Now, the storyline was originally set in LA, but at Eastwood's insistence, the film was shot in a more comfortable surroundings of the actual Carmel by the Sea, where he could shoot scenes at a local radio station, bars and restaurants, and friends' houses. And of course, Carmel was his adopted community for a number of years. The idea of another love interest with a level-headed girlfriend Toby added to the plot was a suggestion by Sonia Sherness, an editor who had been with Eastwood when he was initially spotted for a ride. Now, filming commenced in Monterey, California, in September 70. And though this was Eastwood's debut as a film director, Don Siegel stood by to help and also had an acting role in the film as a barkeep. Frequent collaborators of Siegel, such as cinematographer Bruce Surtees, editor Carl Pingatore, and composer Dee Barton, made up part of the filming team. Now, initial scenes were shot in Monterey in September 70 of the Jazz Festival, including, like I said, Johnny Otis, Cannonball Adderley, and future Weather Report founder Joe Zawinul. The commentator mentioned that was Cannonball Adderley's group. They were playing in the Monterey Jazz Festival with Duke Ellington, Woody Herman, Joe Williams, and many others. Now we are going to hear from the Gator Creek organization and Feeling Fine. Now, the Sardine Factory is still in the same location as in the film, at Prescott and Way Streets, just one block up from Cannery Row in Monterey. The radio station KRLML was an actual jazz station in Carmel, whose studios were relocated to the Eastwood Building at St. Carlos and 5th, in the same building as the Hog's Breath Inn, a restaurant that Eastwood owned. After a brief dark period in 2010, the radio station returned to air in 2011. Now, the rights to the song I Get Misty were obtained after Eastwood saw pianist Errol Garner perform at the Concord Music Festival in 1970. Eastwood also paid $2,000 for the use of the film The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face by the great Roberta Flack. Meticulous planning and efficient directorship of Eastwood, which would become one of his trademarks, enabled the film to be made nearly $50,000 short of its $1 million budget, and it was completed 4 or 5 days ahead of schedule. Variety reported the budget at $1.242 US, and other sources budgeted at $750,000. I hear different numbers about 1.1. Now, Play Misty for Me premiered in October 71 at the San Francisco Film Festival. It opened in 6 cities on October 20th before expanding in November. Now, it has been released. The movie's been released many times on DVD in numerous territories. In the States, it was released as a collector's edition DVD in 2001. Extra features include a 49-minute documentary titled Play It Again, a look back at Play Misty for Me, a brief featurette of the relationship between Eastwood and Don Siegel, photography montage, and evolution of a poster on the marketing design of the one sheet. It was released on Blu-ray on November 10th, 2015 by Universal, with most of the extra features ported over. The film was released in the UK on Blu-ray by Final Cut Entertainment on June 27, 2020, with all new alternative special features. It was released on Blu-ray in the US by Keener Lorber Studio Classics in November 2020 with a 2K master. It includes ported over special features for a previous release and an interview with Donna Mills and audio commentary by film historian Tim Lucas. Now, it was a great financial success, grossing $10.6 million US and Canadian box office. It got $133,000 its first week from 6 theaters, finishing 10th for the week at the box office. But it had a great staying power, and Dirty Harry Disc was on a double bill in certain territories. Now, the film was giving mostly positive reviews, with an 85% rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on 40 reviews. Roger Ebert said, Play Misty for Me is not the artistic equal of Psycho, but in the business of collecting an audience in the palm of its hand and then squeezing hard. It is supreme. Now, observers have noted that Walter's performance is consistent with a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, such as unstable mood, chaotic interpersonal relationships, highly impulsive behavior, self-harm, and intense fear of abandonment. Now, Walter's performance to me was such a beautiful woman. I was like Jessica Walter to see her freak out like that. But Donna Mills, I don't think she was jealous of Donna Mills. It could have been anybody, and that's the Fatal Attraction plot. Now, besides the great music, again, Jessica Walter was nominated for the 72 Golden Globe Award for Best Actress Drama. Now, Play Misty for Me has also been on Bravo's 30 Even Scarier Movie Moments would reach number 26. Now, ironically, in Clint Eastwood's film Dirty Harry, a cinema marquee that shows the title of Play Misty for Me is visible at the beginning of the film, while Inspector Harry Callahan is on his lunch break before the bank robbery, which opens the film. In keeping up appearances, Rose asks Emmett to play Misty for Me as she is dragged out of church while under the influence of tranquilizers. Now, in 227 final episode, titled Play Christy for Me, Lester is stalked by a female listener who repeatedly asks him to play the Jorge Carmichael's classic Stardust. Now, in an episode of That 70s Show, Fez watches Play Misty for Me with a date who thinks Evelyn is the film's hero. Now, film's title is parodied in the 2001 video game Grand Theft Auto 3, where there's a mission called Drive Misty for Me. The title is also parodied in the name of a quest for the 2017 video game Fortnite Save the World, which is Slay Misties for Me. Now, the film is mentioned in Bob Dylan's 17-minute epic ballad Murder Most Foul, released on March 27, 2020. Centering on the assassination of JFK, Dylan writes a stream of consciousness narrative consisting of many musical, political, and cultural references, which he requests from disc jockey Wolfman Jack. One such request is Misty, yielding the film's title as part of the final verse. Now, obsessive-compulsive disorder leads to many things, catfishing, bad personal relationship. But Donna Mills later on became kind of an evil femme fatale, but at the time, she was considered like the poor man's possible Anne Margaret down the road. Now, I know for a fact that Play Misty for Me wasn't really the movie that Eastwood, people were going to see Eastwood. My God, he had a great 3 or 4 years. You've seen that, Hang 'em High, 2 Mules for Sister Sarah, the Leone trilogy was still being re-released, Joe Kidd, all that. But this is an amazing time for Eastwood because at the time he was the strongest actor, director. And for about 10 or 15 years, he was the only movie star that would get all ages. Women would go see him, men would go see him, older people, Western fans. My only regret, he didn't do kind of a sequel to this, where basically there could have been, a follow-up on what really happened. But killing off the Jessica Walter character didn't leave it open for a sequel, like with Batman the Joker getting killed in the 89 film. But Jessica Walter, my God, what a tremendous actress. So you couldn't take our eyes off her. And she's the only classical beauty of that era, not become a bigger star than she had been. With the right management, she could have been through the roof. So ladies and gentlemen, it's our latest Clint Eastwood podcast. If you like what we're doing on these golden age of these movies from the Leone trilogy into the 70s, the sequels to Dirty Harry, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And don't watch Play Misty for Me with the curtains drawn or lights off. It's a scary movie because every time you hear a knock on the door. And call-in shows for radio, there was mimics in this too. That's another story altogether because people were inspired. And the terminology, kill the DJ or hate the DJ, that's a British comment. Maybe all derives from this. But Misty is such a romantic song and not really aggressive. It will like not say asking for we're not going to take it or, got to hide your love away. But to have Roberta Flack in there too on the soundtrack, it's an example of the combination of white and black music coming together, the jazz and the influence of these black artists on white fans and white session players. It all works together. So thanks for listening and stay cool if you can. 37 in the shade. Bye.